Because he chose to defend his female secretary without any hesitation, my boyfriend slapped me across the face. That very day, I immediately asked to break up. No one could believe it. Jason Miller and I had grown up together, and there were only 3 months left until our wedding. He asked me in confusion, "Just because I hit you once that day?" I looked straight into his eyes and replied clearly, word by word, "Yes, just because you hit me." The truth was, Jason Miller's slap came without any warning. In that instant, the wind from his hand tore through the air, and my ears caught a heavy sound, smack, like a water-filled bag dropping from a great height. The left side of my face first went numb, then was overwhelmed by a sharp, burning pain, as if someone were pressing a piece of red-hot iron against my skin. My vision shook violently, and the strands of hair in front of my eyes seemed to twist into distorted, broken curves. I slowly raised my hand and touched my burning cheek. Beneath my fingertips, the skin spasmed with sharp pulses of pain. The man standing in front of me, the man who had once said he would marry me, felt terrifyingly unfamiliar. Jason Miller's palm was still flushed red under the glaring lights of the conference room, which made everything even more blinding. "You hit me?" My voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. His gaze froze for a brief moment, his Adam's apple shifting slightly, but when he saw the reddened eyes of the female secretary, his expression turned cold again. "That's enough," he said in a low, hoarse voice. "Don't embarrass me here." I stared at that familiar yet distant face, unable to stop the tears from falling. His pupils shrank slightly, but in the very next second the secretary's soft sobbing rang out. "Mr. Miller," Lily Dawson called out shakily. Jason Miller's jaw tightened even more, as if the brief hesitation I had just seen was nothing more than my imagination. "Wendy, I've already told you," he said. "My relationship with Lily is strictly between a superior and a subordinate. Can you stop acting crazy here?" His shout echoed throughout the office area, and the air instantly became thick and suffocating. Jason Miller's roar, the suppressed giggles, and Lily Dawson's hypocritical words of comfort blended together into sharp, piercing noises that stabbed straight into my eardrums. Lily Dawson played with a carefully curled lock of hair, her red lips curving upward as she said softly, "Mr. Miller, don't be so harsh." Then she glanced at me and added, "Look, her eyes are completely red." Turning to me, she continued, "Miss Miller, don't worry. I truly don't have any improper relationship with Mr. Miller." She deliberately emphasized the words, "Mr. Miller," causing several male colleagues nearby to burst into suggestive laughter. "If you want to cry, then go home and cry," Jason Miller said as he loosened his tie. The boy who once fought for me was now looking at me as if I were trash. "Do you think you're still a child? This is a company." I couldn't take it anymore. Amid the loud laughter, I knocked over my chair and ran out. The hallway was blindingly white and chilling to the bone. My cheek burned, but it hurt far less than the sharp pain in my heart, which felt as though it were being torn apart. Jason Miller had always been cold by nature, but being slapped by him in front of so many people was something that had never happened before. More than that, this was the first time in my life that I had been humiliated by someone, right in front of everyone. Jason Miller and I had been friends since childhood. We started kindergarten together when we were about 6 years old. His family and mine had been neighbors for many years, living in adjacent buildings within the same residential complex. I had liked Jason Miller since I was little. During my middle school years, I was often isolated by other girls. There was one particularly malicious boy who mocked me while I stood at the podium, put snails into my backpack, and even stuffed caterpillars into my desk drawer. I cried and went to the teacher. The teacher scolded him, but then laughed and said he did those things because he liked me. I didn't believe that explanation, and he never changed. I told my parents, and when they heard about it, they were furious and immediately wanted to go to the school to confront that teacher. Uncle Miller happened to be visiting our house at the time. As soon as he heard what had happened, he immediately called Jason Miller over and told him that he had to protect me at school. Jason Miller and I were the same age, but because we were placed in different classes, we weren't in the same classroom. He strode quickly toward that boy, stopping right in front of him. Jason Miller grabbed the boy by the collar and yanked him straight up from his chair, The boy stared at Jason in horror, his eyes filled with fear and disbelief. Jason's fists came down on his face like rain, each punch landing with a dull, heavy thud. Seeing this, the boy's friends rushed over, trying to stop him. But Jason was agile, his movements lightning fast. With blow after blow, he knocked them off balance, sending them stumbling and falling, cries of pain ringing out one after another. Before leaving, Jason swept a cold gaze over every one of them, his voice low and forceful as he said, "From now on, if anyone dares to bully her again, don't blame me for not holding back." After saying that, he turned and walked away, leaving the boys so terrified they didn't dare move a muscle. Sunlight fell over him, casting a golden glow around his figure, making him look like a heroic silhouette. From that moment on, I became his shadow, following closely wherever he went. At first, Jason didn't like having a little tail like me around. He thought that walking with a girl who cried as easily as I did would damage his image as a tough guy. But I was like a stubborn vine, always clinging to him, calling him Jason again and again. As time passed, his attitude gradually softened, and he no longer disliked me the way he had at the beginning. When we got to college, I started to notice that he looked at me for longer and longer stretches. Every time our eyes met, he would instinctively look away, and sometimes he seemed almost shocked, stammering as he spoke, his cheeks flushing before he hurriedly changed the subject. Uncle Miller once joked that we were childhood sweethearts and suggested that maybe we should just get married after graduation. Jason didn't say anything, he simply tightened his grip on my hand. I could feel the warmth of his palm, as well as a faint redness at the edge of his ear that was easy to miss. Still, my heart swelled with sweetness, and I boldly declared, "I want to marry you, Jason." Yet after we graduated from college, everything changed. In my first year at work, a new intern joined the company. Her name was Lily Dawson. On her very first day, she handed out a cup of coffee to everyone in the office and said with a smile, "Hello, everyone. I hope you'll all guide me and take care of me from now on." After that, her gaze swept around the office like flickering points of light until it finally stopped on me. Her eyes lingered for a moment, then she suddenly burst into crisp laughter. "Oh my God, someone save me," she said. "Where did this Barbie doll come from?" "Ho-ho." Her tone carried a hint of teasing, yet sounded oddly sincere. "Pink from head to toe? Seriously? You're already at work and still dressing like this? Are you trying to sell your cuteness? That's kind of embarrassing." The moment she finished speaking, everyone in the office turned to look at me. My face flushed bright red, like the clouds at sunset. The sudden laughter seemed to freeze the air around me, and my colleagues' left gazes felt like stage lights shining straight at me, leaving me so ashamed and uncomfortable that I couldn't describe it. I liked pink. I liked cute things. And those pink items had always made me the center of attention. Back in elementary school, boys used to call me overly clingy and say I was weak, while some girls whispered behind my back that I was deliberately acting cute. But most people meant well, especially girls who liked sweet styles, and they would even praise me, saying I was unbelievably cute and that pink suited me perfectly. But this time was different. This was the first time I had ever been mocked so directly, so blatantly and publicly. In that moment, I felt dizzy, so embarrassed that I wanted nothing more than to crawl into the ground and disappear. "Haha, sorry," Lily said again. "I'm just pretty straightforward when I talk. Don't be mad, okay, little princess?" Lily Dawson blinked mischievously. All right, it's your first day at work. Talk a little less." At that moment, Jason Miller's irritated voice rang out. I turned around and saw him frowning at Lily, his expression clearly displeased. "Yes?" Lily raised her eyebrows at him with a provocative look and let out a soft "oh." "The princess's bodyguard is here," she said. "What did you just say?" Jason snapped. "Are you sick or something?" He slammed the table and sprang to his feet in anger. The HR staff hurried over to intervene, pulling him back down into his seat, and then arranged a desk for Lily. I didn't know whether it was a coincidence or deliberate, but the only empty seat in the office happened to be right next to Jason. From that day on, they became desk neighbors. I didn't know when Jason and Lily had started getting close, until one day, without any warning, the strawberry milk Uncle Miller had asked Jason to bring me every morning was replaced with plain whole milk. I stared at the carton of milk in my hand, a trace of discomfort rising in my chest. I hate plain milk the most. Don't you know that? He gently patted my head, his tone casual and dismissive. All right, don't you just like the pink carton on the strawberry milk anyway? You're already grown up, yet you still drink strawberry milk every day. Does that really look appropriate? Drink plain milk from now on. It's better for your health. There was an unmistakable firmness in his voice, leaving no room for argument, mixed with a faint irritation that was hard to pinpoint. Lily Dawson was holding a carton of plain milk herself. When she heard that, she turned around, her eyes and the corners of her lips forming an awkward smile. Sorry, little princess, she said. It's because I like plain milk, so I told Jason to bring this. She smiled in a half-joking, half-serious way, then added, but strawberry milk is so sweet it's cloying. Do you really like that taste, or are you just deliberately acting cute? I gently set the milk carton down on the desk, frowned, and locked my gaze onto her. You really like giving people nicknames, don't you? She paused slightly, then her face showed a mix of surprise and helplessness. Haha, why are you being so serious? I was just joking a little, you're too sensitive. Am I sensitive, or are you feeling guilty? I knew the answer in my own heart. That's enough, Wendy, Jason said, stepping in to stop us, his expression looking as if he had a headache. Lily just speaks without thinking sometimes. Don't take it to heart. Anger surged up in my chest like flames leaping into my eyes, blurring my vision with heat. Suddenly, I swung my arm and shoved Jason away with all my strength, at the same time snapping at Lily. If you don't know how to speak properly, then don't speak at all. Jason was startled by my unexpected action. He immediately reached out and grabbed my waist, his voice tinged with worry. All right, I was wrong. Don't be mad anymore. Tomorrow I'll bring you strawberry milk, okay? Lily's face instantly darkened. Her gaze turned sharp as a blade, staring straight at me as if she wanted to pierce right through me. The next day, Lily seemed to pay me special attention. When I gently pulled out a pink tissue, her voice immediately rang through the space. Wow, even your tissues have to be pink. Do you think you're a Barbie doll? At lunch, I used a wet tissue to wipe the disposable chopsticks, while she exchanged meaningful looks with a few male colleagues nearby, as if silently sharing some private joke. The princess syndrome is acting up again, she said lightly, with a hint of mockery. When it came time for the once-a-year desk rotation, I hugged my computer monitor, feeling a little tired and planning to rest for a moment. Lily's voice echoed across the entire company. Oh my God, the princess can't even carry things anymore. Hurry and call a few knights to help the princess. Her tone was deliberately exaggerated, drawing the attention of many colleagues around us. At times like that, the male co-workers who were close to her would chime in, and bursts of laughter followed one after another. It was as if she genuinely found all of this amusing. At first, Jason Miller still felt uncomfortable and would speak up to stop her. But Lily Dawson always waved it off with a giggle, saying it was just a little joke. Wendy usually looks so serious, she would add. I'm just helping her blend in better with everyone. Hearing that, Jason nodded slightly, as if considering something. Wendy is a bit introverted, he said. Are girls these days all like that? Lily lightly punched his shoulder, her voice carrying a hint of intimacy. Hey, not me, she said. Don't lump me in with other girls. Jason only smiled and said nothing more. Inside, I felt a bitter ache. Jason had always thought I was fragile, that I had a bit of a princess temperament. I knew that. Perhaps in the eyes of many men, liking pink, being overly neat, and not being physically strong all amounted to some kind of princess syndrome. Until one day, I truly couldn't endure it anymore. That year, during the Lunar New Year, I traveled to Tampa with my parents. Under the sun, my skin darkened by several shades into a healthy tan. It had happened before. After resting for half a month, my skin would return to normal, so I didn't think much of it. After the holiday, I returned to the company. Under my down jacket, I was wearing a pink sweater. The moment Lily saw me, she suddenly shrieked. Oh my God, Wendy Miller is that dark and still wearing pink? Don't you think that's ridiculous? No, seriously, haha, I'm dying. And you still want to be a princess like this? What kind of princess is that dark? You look more like one of Disney's brown-skinned princesses. She and several male colleagues burst into uncontrollable laughter, but Jason found it amusing too. The corner of his lips curved slightly. In that instant, humiliation and panic surged over me like a tide. My head burned hot, my fists clenched tightly. Amid the mocking laughter, I picked up a cup of water and, without a second's hesitation, splashed it straight onto Lily's face. She froze, then frantically wiped the water from her face. Her carefully applied makeup was smeared by the water, making her look utterly ridiculous. The surrounding colleagues all turned to look, their expressions a mix of shock, curiosity, and awkwardness. "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" she shouted. "I'm sorry," I said, deliberately mimicking her tone. "You're an intern, yet you wear eyelid tape, full foundation, and lipstick every single day. No wonder your performance is so poor. Are you here to work, or just to put on a show?" A few male colleagues who were close to Lily frowned and stepped in front of her. Jason stood at the very front like a wall. He snatched the cup from my hand. "Wendy Miller, apologize immediately," he said in a deep, forceful voice, his gaze carrying an order that couldn't be defied. My eyes began to sting as I stared straight at him. "Didn't you hear how she insulted me just now? She was the one who provoked me first." "That's already over," he replied calmly and firmly. "You've already retaliated. Now you need to apologize for splashing water." His voice was so composed, so resolute, it felt cold. "If you're wrong, you have to admit it. Don't be stubborn like a child." Then he softened his tone slightly. "Just apologize. Lily won't take it to heart." I let out a cold laugh, the corner of my lips lifting in mockery. "Get lost." Jason's eyes widened. His hand swung out and a sharp slap landed squarely on my face. If I fought back, he fought back too. After a long moment, I raised my head and looked straight into his eyes, enunciating every word clearly. "Jason Miller, let's break up." That day, I didn't stay late at the office anymore. I went home immediately. The moment I stepped through the door, I was like a storm tearing through the room. I overturned the bookshelf, the wardrobe, and the storage cabinets, leaving the entire room in chaos. I found a large cardboard box and gathered up every single gift Jason Miller had ever given me since I was little. All the way up until I grew up, without a second thought, I threw each item into the box one by one. The cardboard box gradually filled up. I made sure I hadn't missed a single thing. Hugging the heavy box to my chest, I rushed downstairs and dumped all the gifts and memories straight into the trash. When I finished everything, my parents still hadn't come home. I called my mom. "Hello, Mom." "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" "When you get home," I said calmly, "tell Uncle Miller and Aunt Miller that Jason Miller and I have broken up and the wedding is canceled. There is no wedding anymore. Starting today, don't let Jason Miller step into our house even once. Tell him to stay as far away as possible." When my mom got home later, she was both worried and furious when she saw the handprint still clearly visible on my face. I told her everything that had happened during this time. As she listened, the veins on her forehead twitched uncontrollably. She immediately turned around and went next door to knock on Jason Miller's door. His mother hadn't even understood what was going on yet, when my mom, without any hesitation, told the entire story from beginning to end. How hard he had slapped me, how that intern had verbally bullied me for so long while he turned a blind eye, how he had laughed along when they mocked me, and how in the end, he had stood on her side to protect her. Jason's mother's face turned from pale to ashen. Our two families had lived in harmony for so many years, yet today, because of me, a deep rift had appeared. Still, my mom never blamed me. She only gently stroked my head. "Our Wendy must never be bullied by anyone. No matter what you decide, your father and I will stand by you." All the grievance and sorrow I had suppressed for so long burst out in an instant. My nose burned, and I hugged my mom and cried uncontrollably. That evening, when Jason Miller returned home, he must have seen the things I had thrown into the trash. He angrily knocked on my door. "Wendy Miller, come out, we need to talk." I opened the door immediately. Standing there was Jason Miller, his face icy cold. "Why did you throw away everything I gave you? What does it have to do with you?" I looked at him coldly. The handprint from that morning was still clearly stamped on my face. He hadn't held back at all. Half of my face was bruised and swollen, the marks of his fingers starkly visible, not fading but growing worse with time. Jason's expression changed. He stood there in a daze, staring at the injury on my face. After a long while, he said in disbelief, "Why is it this serious?" As he spoke, he reached out, intending to touch it. I took a step back, my face expressionless. I was rarely injured. In the past, even the smallest scratch would make my eyes well up as I ran to him, telling him about it and demanding comfort. In truth, I wasn't afraid of pain. My nerves were just a bit dull, and sometimes I wouldn't even notice a scrape until days later. I did all that only to act spoiled in front of the person I liked. On the contrary, Jason Miller was always the one saying I was weak, yet in reality he enjoyed the feeling of being relied on by me. But now I no longer did that. Jason had never seen me this cold before. For a moment, he couldn't believe it. "I didn't mean it, Wendy," he said. "It's just that what you said was too harsh, and I lost my temper for a moment." I cut him off. "Since you're here, let's be clear. From today on, we are strangers. From now on, you call me by my full name. If we meet at the company, don't talk to me. And like tonight, never come knocking on my door again." After saying that, I moved to close the door. Jason Miller grabbed my wrist, his eyes locked onto mine, emotions surging between affection, anger, and confusion. "Is it really to this extent, Wendy Miller? Just because I slapped you? I can apologize, isn't that enough? Don't you think you're being too much? Why has your temper become so bad? Have you thought about what things will be like after we get married? I can't always give in to you." I let out a laugh. "Jason Miller, do you not understand human language? I've already broken up with you. There is no after anymore. Do you understand? Breaking up doesn't require your consent." "Wendy, why are you like this?" he asked, forcing down his anger. "Just because I hit you once when I lost my temper?" "Yes," I said, enunciating every word clearly. "Just because you hit me." "If you insist on this," he said coldly, "then do whatever you want." Jason Miller was so angry that he actually laughed. He turned around and walked away. The door behind him was yanked shut with force, the loud bang echoing through the empty house. The next morning, the atmosphere in the company seemed to carry an unusually sweet undertone. Jason Miller and Lily Dawson stood together in front of everyone and officially announced that they were dating. That single sentence was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, stirring up wave after wave. I stood among the crowd, my heart completely unmoved. Thinking back, perhaps everything had been foreshadowed long ago. Lily Dawson hadn't been at the company for very long, but her straightforward personality helped her quickly blend in with the male colleagues. They often gathered in the break area, chatting and laughing loudly, and Lily was always the center of every conversation. In contrast, she'd barely interacted with the female colleagues at all. She once said casually, "Oh my God, I just like hanging out with guys. It's less tiring with them. You don't get talked about behind your back like you do with girls, they're always comparing things." She added impatiently, "I really can't stand it. And these days, girls are all like fragile fairies who need to be coaxed and pampered. Say one wrong thing, and they hold a grudge forever. I don't get along with that type. It's much more comfortable being around men." Those blunt, knife-like words made the female colleagues gradually keep their distance from her. Lily seemed to realize that too. She turned to the male coworkers, shrugged, and laughed at herself. "I guess I shouldn't have said girls are petty. In just an hour, I've offended everyone. I'll probably get isolated by all the girls again." Then she waved it off. Whatever. Just like that, an indistinct distance formed between her and us. It was clear that she was the one keeping her distance, calling us weak and narrow-minded. Yet when no one wanted to get close to her, she blamed us for forming cliques to isolate her. The way she handled things made everyone extremely uncomfortable. That evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore and told my parents all my frustrations. "Sweetheart, Mom understands how you feel," my mother said gently. "When I was young, I ran into people like that too. If you meet that kind of person, just stay away. Don't let them affect your life." Jason Miller happened to come over while we were talking. As soon as he heard this, his expression darkened. He had never liked people speaking ill of others behind their backs, so it was obvious he was displeased with what we had just said. "Auntie, Wendy," he said, "talking about someone behind their back like this isn't very appropriate." My parents and I exchanged glances. The atmosphere instantly became awkward, and the entire room fell into silence. It was only later that I gradually realized that at some point, without my noticing, a special kind of friendship had formed between Jason Miller and Lily Dawson. Lily was good at making PowerPoint presentations and sat right next to him, often taking the initiative to help him revise and polish his slides. That had originally been my responsibility, but after she appeared, it was suddenly handed over to her. She also liked playing video games and was very close with the male colleagues, including several of Jason's close friends, which made their relationship even tighter. Jason's perception of her changed as well. In his eyes, Lily was no longer the intern who had mocked others for no reason on her first day, but a warm, energetic girl who spoke bluntly and had an easygoing personality. Jason Miller, who had always kept his distance from women, instead easily accepted her presence. In meeting rooms, they would whisper to each other, their relaxed laughter echoing through the space. She sat in the passenger seat as he drove, Lily laughing brightly, joining his group of friends for noisy dinners. At first, I couldn't help feeling a sense of loss, but I still comforted myself. They were just ordinary friends. I had once trusted that belief to the point of blindness. I was foolishly clinging to the idea that Jason Miller was my boyfriend, but reality cruelly laid bare my delusions and stupidity. Lily Dawson sat on Jason Miller's lap, smiling brightly with open provocation. "Jason and I are in a proper relationship," she said. "We're not like some people who shamelessly cling to their childhood sweetheart, tagging along just because of that history, accepting free gifts." Then she sneered again. "Oh right, I know girls like you love talking behind people's backs, but I really hope certain someone doesn't run to HR to tattle that we're dating at work. That would be so undignified." Jason Miller didn't refute a single word. Some people in the company congratulated them, while others secretly watched my expression. Everyone knew that I liked Jason Miller. In the entire company, I had only ever been close to him, and he, too, had only ever had me by his side. Some colleagues looked at me with concern, but I didn't raise my head. I just focused on my work. The atmosphere became awkward for a while. Jason let out a cold snort and looked away from me. After that, their relationship grew increasingly intimate. At lunch, Lily Dawson would take off her hair tie and put it around his wrist, telling him not to take it off. At work, they would secretly kiss in the stairwell. During lunch, she would take the fried chicken from his tray, and he would smile helplessly, indulging her. After work, they would leave the company hand in hand, looking like a deeply enamored couple. I had once liked him. At first, I felt uncomfortable, but later, I got used to it. I thought the two of us would no longer have anything to do with each other. Until one day, after I got off work, Jason Miller stopped me right outside the company gates. His voice was low, his eyes complicated, seeming both angry and pleased at the same time. "Wendy Miller," he called my name heavily, his gaze so complex that I couldn't tell what he was thinking. "Lily took sick leave today," he continued, looking at me, but for a moment I didn't understand what that had to do with me. Jason asked bluntly, "What did you say to her?" "Bookmark, go back." I froze for a second, then answered curtly, "What could I have said?" I've never initiated a conversation with her. I don't like gossiping, especially not with someone like Lily Dawson. Even looking at her one extra time annoys me. If she hadn't been picking fights with me all this time, I wouldn't have bothered saying a single word to her. "So what exactly could I have said?" Jason's eyes were filled with suspicion as he pressed on. "I took her home last night and she was fine. This morning she suddenly asked for sick leave. When I called to ask, she cried and said she was sorry, told me to ask you not to be angry anymore. Tell me the truth. What did you say to her? Did you hit her?" "No. Are you sick?" I snapped. I didn't want to argue with him anymore. I gently pushed him aside and turned to leave. But immediately, a strong force yanked my arm back. Jason tightened his grip around my wrist, his eyes sharp like a hunting leopard as they locked onto me. "Wendy," he said, "I know you're unhappy about us being together, but there's no need to do this. Have you forgotten? You were the one who asked to break up and cancel the wedding. Now even if you're jealous," he stopped mid-sentence, then lowered his voice. "As long as you apologize, we can pretend everything that happened before never did. We can still get back together." His voice was urgent, as if anxiously waiting for me to change my mind. I couldn't take it anymore and screamed, "Are you crazy? Let go. Who do you think you are to demand an apology from me? I already told you. I didn't do anything. You can date whoever you want. I even wish you happiness. Even if the two of you have 10 kids, I couldn't care less. Let go." Jason's face darkened as he glared at me, his hand still refusing to loosen. Just as I was about to struggle free, a hand gently rested on his arm. "Treating a woman like this," a voice said calmly, "doesn't seem very appropriate." I followed the voice and saw a man in a suit about our age. "Ethan Y," I blurted out his name. Ethan Y was my senior from college. We had once competed together in debate tournaments, but we weren't particularly close and rarely talked. I remembered his face clearly. It was far too distinctive to forget. Why was he here? A trace of doubt rose in my heart, and my gaze drifted toward him unconsciously. Ethan Y seemed to sense my suspicion. When our eyes met, a mischievous glint flashed through his, and he gave me a subtle wink. The next second, his hand tightened. Jason Miller's face darkened immediately. Realizing my chance, I took advantage of Jason's momentary distraction, struggled free with all my strength, and ran straight ahead without looking back or hesitating. On the morning of the team-building event, I felt a bit unwell physically, but I didn't think much of it. Under the guidance of the HR department, my colleagues and I began the hiking activity. As the pace picked up, my vision gradually blurred, and my limbs grew weak and limp. Only then did I realize the signs of low blood sugar, but it seemed too late. My steps faltered, and my body collapsed onto the cold ground. Around me, panicked shouts from my coworkers rang out, followed by hurried footsteps rushing over. A steady arm wrapped around me and helped me up. I looked up. It was Jason Miller. His voice carried reproach. "You're having low blood sugar again, aren't you? Did you skip meals again? With your condition, you still went hiking. Can you take better care of yourself? Does it hurt from the fall? I'll take you to the hospital." He kept talking beside my ear. I was already irritated from the fall, and the added attention from my colleagues made me even more annoyed. I tried to pull my hand out of his grip. "Don't touch me. I can walk on my own." He snapped softly. "Is this the time to be sulking with me? Can you think about your health for once? I'll just take you to the hospital and leave right after. Is that okay now?" I let out a cold laugh. "What are you saying? Is low blood sugar some serious illness? I just need to rest for a bit. Am I dying or something that I have to go to the hospital immediately?" Jason clenched his teeth. After a moment, he forced out a few words through gritted teeth. "Do you have to be this unreasonable?" I looked at him calmly. "If that's what you think, there's nothing I can change." He flung his arm, shoved me aside, turned around, and walked off without looking back, leaving me standing there alone in the strong wind. In the end, the HR manager couldn't put her mind at ease and insisted on taking me home. When my mom heard that I'd had low blood sugar, her brows knitted tightly, and she firmly made me go to the hospital for further checks. Not wanting to worry her, I obediently went along. The hospital that day was unusually quiet. The main lobby was nearly empty, with only a few people scattered around. My gaze swept inadvertently toward the waiting area, where I saw a man sitting. It was Ethan Y. When his eyes met mine, a spark lit up in them, and he broke into a bright smile. "Hey, Junior," he greeted me cheerfully. "We meet again." His voice carried a hint of pleasant surprise. "What a coincidence. You're here at the hospital too." I merely nodded politely. As we talked, I noticed his knee was wrapped in thick gauze. Blood had already seeped through, staining the white fabric a glaring red. He seemed to notice my gaze, lowered his head to look at his knee, and scratched his head a little awkwardly. "Oh, this? I had a small accident while driving today. It's nothing serious, just a superficial scrape. What about you? Are you okay?" The blood soaking through the bandage made me slightly uncomfortable, but my attitude toward Ethan softened unconsciously. "I'm fine. It's just mild low blood sugar. You should get some rest." Ethan nodded vigorously and smiled brightly, not looking like an injured person at all. In the days that followed, because I was dealing with low blood sugar, along with irregular menstrual cycles, and Ethan had his knee injury, every time we went to the hospital, we would coincidentally run into each other at the entrance. As time passed, the unfamiliarity between us gradually faded and we became closer. Ethan Way was an easygoing, gentle person. He seemed to have been born knowing how to make others feel at ease. His thoughtful, measured concern always made me feel comfortable around him. One day, as he sat on the hospital bed, his eyes carrying a hint of shyness, he said to me, "Junior, I think our relationship might be able to take a step further. What do you think?" I froze in surprise and hurriedly waved my hands in refusal. No. But he wasn't discouraged by that. A week after neither of us needed to go to the hospital anymore, he began coming to my company every day after work. Sometimes he showed up holding a bouquet of flowers. Other times he brought along my favorite desserts. As soon as he arrived, he would stick by my desk, talking non-stop and joking around. The girls sitting nearby would always cheerfully give up their seats for him. And just like that, with Ethan Y appearing so frequently, rumors that we were dating began spreading throughout the company. Even though I kept denying it, my coworkers still looked at me with knowing expressions, as if to say that it didn't matter whether I admitted it or not. Everyone already knew. Even my boss couldn't help leaning over to whisper, "Wendy, I have to ask, does Ethan Y really have an 8-pack?" I froze. The question caught me completely off guard. How would I know something like that? Still, I answered honestly, "I don't know." "Oh, come on. Why are you keeping secrets from me?" she laughed. "We're just asking. I heard he was on the men's soccer team back in college. When he played, didn't he ever lift his shirt to wipe sweat? No girl ever caught a glimpse of his body? He's like the textbook definition of a perfect guy, you know." A female colleague who had been my classmate in college and now worked at the same company chimed in, poking my shoulder excitedly. "I heard you're dating him, right? You were in the same class. He said he has 6-pack abs. You're his only girlfriend. You must have seen them. Come on, share a little. Are they nice? What do they feel like?" I suddenly sank into my memories. Had he never lifted his shirt? That didn't seem right. I remembered that back in college, he often complained about the heat and would occasionally tug up his shirt to wipe sweat. Thinking carefully, it seemed like there had been a few times when I'd glimpsed the outline of his abs. I murmured unconsciously, "I think he does, but he's pretty skinny." Now though, I'm not sure. Before I could finish my sentence, she shrieked, "Oh my God, you really kept that all to yourself." "Don't yell, lower your voice," I said hurriedly. "I only saw it from afar a few times." No, there's nothing between us. Really, there's nothing." I quickly reached out to cover her mouth. At the same time, we both turned toward the source of a sudden noise. All we saw was the cup in Jason Miller's hand falling to the floor, shattering into pieces of glass. His face had gone pale, as if it took him a long moment to regain his senses. Then he slowly bent down to pick up the shards. Just as he crouched, Lily Dawson suddenly cried out, "Jason, your hand!" Only then did I notice that a shard of glass had cut Jason's finger. Fresh blood dripped steadily from the tip of his finger. He stared blankly at the wound, as if lost in thought. "Jason, I have tissues. Come here. I'll bandage it for you," Lily said anxiously, reaching out to pull him toward her. But Jason shoved her away hard. Under everyone's stunned gazes, he took heavy steps toward me. The wound was deep, blood flowing non-stop and leaving a red trail across the floor. When he finally stopped in front of me, he stared straight at me, his voice low and hoarse. "I'm hurt, Wendy. Can you give me an alcohol swab to disinfect it?" I looked at him in silence. I always carried disinfecting cotton swabs with me. Jason knew that better than anyone. It was because of him. When we were kids, Jason often got into fights because of me. Back in elementary school, the boys liked to tease me by pulling my hair or flipping up my skirt. They even secretly stuffed strange, disgusting things into my backpack and desk drawer. At my desk, they would do it deliberately just to startle me. Every time that happened, Jason Miller would step forward without the slightest hesitation and confront them head-on, until no one dared bully me anymore. When we got to middle school, there was a boy who grew resentful after I rejected him. Together with his friends, he spread rumors, fabricating stories that I was promiscuous, that I accepted gifts from many boys and toyed with their feelings. Jason Miller went to each of them one by one and beat them up, beating them until no one dared whisper false rumors about me again. Until one time, That boy who had started the rumors brought several others with him and ambushed Jason Miller after school. They shoved him from the school corridor. The corridor was fitted with floor-to-ceiling glass panels. Jason wasn't on guard at all and crashed straight through the glass, shards exploding everywhere as he fell to the ground. Fortunately, it was only the first floor, so he wasn't critically injured, but both of his arms were slashed again and again by the sharp glass, leaving them covered in cuts. When I found him, his school uniform had already been soaked red with blood. Even though the pain made his facial muscles twitch, he clenched his teeth and gently comforted me, saying he was fine, that it didn't hurt at all. My vision blurred with tears. All I could do was helplessly stare at those deep wounds, watching the blood slowly seep out. From that day on, I always carried alcohol swabs and bandages in my bag, just in case. After that, no matter what happened, I handled everything on my own and never dared let Jason know, afraid that he would get hurt again because of me. Yet this habit has never changed, even to this day. Jason used to tease me for being overly sensitive, but the smile in his eyes was enough for me to know that he actually enjoyed that concern. But when Lily Dawson came to the company as an intern, she once happened to see an alcohol swab fall out of my bag. She immediately mocked me. Who carries these things around every single day? Or are you hoping someone gets hurt soon so you can have a chance to show off? Jason heard that and only gave a faint smile and nodded. I snapped out of my memories and looked straight at Jason Miller, my voice calm but resolute. I don't carry them anymore. Then I added, from now on I won't carry them either. Jason didn't look surprised. His face gradually turned pale. He let out a quiet, self-mocking laugh, his gaze dimming, like a star falling from the night sky. I understand. After work, Lily Dawson blocked my way home. Her voice was low and decisive, without a trace of her usual smile, filled only with cold seriousness. Let's talk. A wave of irritation surged up inside me. Why was it always with one person after another coming to find me? Was I some part of their relationship? They were in love, and I was just diligently working. The two sides had nothing to do with each other at all. Yet today she stopped me, and tomorrow he wanted to talk too. Lily's gaze was heavy, as if it were pressing down with 1,000 pounds. She stared at me for a long time before finally speaking. I really don't understand. What is it about you that makes him unable to forget you? I almost let out a cold laugh and replied indifferently. I don't understand what you mean. There's no need to beat around the bush. If you have something to say, just say it. Her expression darkened, anger clearly surfacing in her eyes. Wendy Miller, you're feeling pretty smug, aren't you? Jason may be with me now, but deep down he still likes you. As long as he sees you talking to another man, he can't sleep all night. For the past few days, he hasn't wanted to say a single word to me. I really don't get you. Just because he slapped you once in a moment of impulse, you immediately demanded a breakup? You just felt humiliated, didn't you, over nothing but your hollow pride? She went on, saying that I could just walk away from someone I had grown up with, that I was the textbook example of a selfish, petty person who always put herself at the center of everything. She spoke in one long, indignant stream, as if she were genuinely standing up for someone else. After listening quietly, I replied calmly, You don't need to test me. I will not go back to him. Lily Dawson's body stiffened slightly. I smiled faintly. Being asked by your boyfriend to probe the feelings of his ex must feel pretty uncomfortable, right? But don't worry. Once I say I've broken up, that person is as good as dead to me. I, Wendy Miller, say what I mean and mean what I say. Once I throw something away, I don't pick up trash again. Go back and tell Jason Miller, my words haven't changed. The breakup is real, and I have absolutely no regrets. Lily's expression turned extremely awkward, a mix of embarrassment at being exposed, resentment, and confusion crossing her face. I turned and walked away, but behind me, her voice came again, filled with unwillingness. Wendy Miller, was it really just because of a slap? Just because he hit you once? I turned back, my voice firm and unyielding. Yes. Just because he hit me. The words rang out like a final verdict, without the slightest hesitation. Night fell. City lights flickered outside the window. I was reading a novel when my phone suddenly rang, tearing through the quiet. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. I hesitated for a few seconds, then gently slid my finger to answer. Wendy? A low, familiar voice came from the other end. It was Jason Miller. He had changed his number. Aren't you done yet? I said coldly, a trace of irritation in my voice, my finger already hovering over the hang-up button. Wait, listen to me. He hurriedly cut me off. I fell silent. In the still space, only the sound of our breathing remained. I read that diary, he finally said. His voice was hoarse, as if trembling. My heart skipped a beat, my mind going blank for a brief moment before I quickly steadied myself. There was no doubt about the diary he meant. It was the one I had written. It was a gift he gave me when I was 10 years old. From then on, I formed the habit of writing down my feelings, continuing for many years. That diary held all the feelings I had for him, every detail of our days together, every time my heart had fluttered because of him. Didn't I throw that away already? I whispered softly. I picked it up that day, Jason said, his voice shaking as if he were struggling to restrain his emotions. I'm sorry, Wendy. I read your diary. I never realized it hurt you that deeply. I'm sorry for always ignoring your feelings. But really, from the day I hit you, I've regretted it. Wendy, I was wrong. I cut him off gently. When did you pick it up? The other end fell silent, as if the question had suddenly lodged in his throat. It's been a while, hasn't it? I gave a soft laugh, my voice carrying a faint, hard-to-detect mockery. Then why wait until tonight to call and bring this up? Did you just happen to flip through that dust-covered diary today? His voice was thin, like smoke drifting in the wind, weak and powerless. I'm guessing it's because I've recently had someone pursuing me, I said calmly. You started to feel threatened, realized your position in my heart was actually being shaken. So after all these months, on a night like tonight, you suddenly felt the urge to humble yourself and open that diary again. Isn't that right? Wendy, that's not it, he said urgently, trying to explain. I didn't let him continue. Still gentle but firm and without hesitation, I said, Jason Miller, you should understand that belated apologies and confessions not only can't mend the cracks of the past, they only make the few remaining memories feel awkward and out of place. That diary doesn't mean anything anymore. It would be best if you threw it away. And one more thing, don't call me again, and don't come looking for me. We truly have nothing left to say. I didn't hesitate and hung up. The words he hadn't managed to say dissolved into the beeping tone, sinking silently into the night. There was only 1 week left until my final day at work. My co-workers prepared a warm farewell party for me. At first, I hadn't planned to invite Jason Miller and his group, but thinking about how they hadn't caused any trouble recently, I still sent an invitation out of basic courtesy. Ethan Y shamelessly insisted on coming as well to join the fun. That day, I dressed up elegantly for the occasion. Jason Miller arrived too, wearing a neatly tailored suit, with Lily Dawson beside him, her makeup carefully done. She clung closely to his arm, the two of them looking as though they had merged into one. Jason's face still carried its usual cold expression. I didn't go over to greet them, instead heading straight toward my other colleagues. The party unfolded amid lively laughter and conversation. It was bustling and cheerful, but also exhausting in its own way. Halfway through, I stepped out alone onto the balcony to catch the night breeze and find a bit of peace. At that moment, familiar footsteps sounded behind me. Even though I didn't want to admit it, after so many years I recognized instantly who it was. He stood behind me, his voice hoarse. Can we talk, Wendy? I turned around and faced Jason Miller's tired eyes. Of course, I replied calmly and distantly. But I hope this will be the last time. His face turned pale, and he let out a self-mocking laugh. Do we really have to go this far? Wendy, no matter how much I beg now, you won't forgive me anymore. I quietly avoided his gaze. His voice carried through the wind, trembling with desperate pleading. I really don't understand. Don't you love me anymore? Why can't you give me one more chance? You know I love you. We were about to get married. How could you do this? At last he admitted that he regretted it, but only in a situation like this. Was it really just because I slapped you that one time? His voice dropped, filled with confusion. Just like the first time he asked, I nodded without hesitation. Yes, just because you hit me. And I heard it that day, I continued. Jason Miller, you didn't hit me because you lost control of your emotions. I heard everything. That slap was like a cold winter frost, chilling and biting. It didn't just land on my face, it struck my heart as well. A few days before that, I happened to see him driving Lily Dawson, turning into a street corner. An unnamed sense of unease welled up inside me. Unable to restrain myself, I followed them. He and a few close friends took her into a brightly lit hot pot restaurant. In the hazy steam, they sat around the table, laughing loudly. "You've known each other since childhood? Oh, so she's that childhood sweetheart?" someone joked. "Can you still love someone after growing up together? Doesn't it get too familiar and boring?" Of course he loves her. Don't you see how that girl takes care of Jason every day? But Jason doesn't seem all that into it. If you're planning to get married anyway, you should play around with a few people first, otherwise it's a waste. My heart felt like it was being stretched tight by a thin thread. Jason chuckled lightly, his tone casual. "I do like her, but I don't want to get married so early. There's nothing intense left between me and her anymore. We're more like family than lovers. It's honestly pretty boring." Everyone let out a chorus of surprised noises. "So what kind of girl do you like, Jason? I'll introduce you." "Cut it out, they're doing fine. Why are you stirring things up? Getting married too early is such a loss. You have to date around more before you know who suits you best." Jason laughed. "That's true. No need to rush into marriage. Why get married so early? Play around for a few more years first." "Hey, but what if she stops liking you?" "No way. A girl like Wendy Miller is the clingy type. She'll stick around no matter what." At that moment, Lily Dawson smiled faintly and said softly, "That's right. I understand girls like her very well. I don't like pink. Everything about her is pink. Her personality is weak, she likes to act spoiled, and she's very dependent. As long as you treat her a little nicely, Jason, she'll come clinging back, no matter how close I get to you." She even pretended not to notice and continued clinging to him. "I guess, even if she were humiliated in front of everyone, as long as you apologized, she'd happily forgive you right away." Seriously, is she really that stupid when it comes to love? Hey Jason, why don't you try it? How about humiliating her? Slap her in front of everyone. Someone laughed. She'd probably cry her eyes out. I held my breath. In the noisy hot pot restaurant, only Jason Miller's voice came through clearly. "That works." Standing in front of me now, he was trembling and flustered. "That's not it, Wendy. Let me explain. I only said those things because of my pride back then. I didn't mean them." "Stop denying it," I said softly. "The more you talk, the more pathetic you sound, Jason Miller." I looked at him calmly. "Haven't you always said that talking badly about others behind their backs is wrong? Then take a good look at yourself. How much better are you?" His face went deathly pale. I let out a quiet sigh. Strangely enough, back then I had been angry and heartbroken, but now my heart was as still as water, as if it were someone else's story. I knew he loved me, but I also knew he had wavered. There were moments when he thought Lily Dawson was pretty good too, when he liked her and wanted to show himself off in front of her. That was normal, Jason Miller. The feelings you had for me were rooted in familiarity and obligation. I had grown up pretty, loving you sincerely, making it hard for you to reject me. But in the end, we weren't compatible. You thought I was pretty, yet you still saw me as a fragile little lady, saw my love for pink as artificial, as the kind of girl who wasn't strong like boys. And so in the end, you were still drawn to someone like Lily Dawson. Even if it hadn't been her, it would have been someone else, a different, lively girl who stood out and was also pretty. But you shouldn't have used me as a stepping stone to prove yourself. I gave a cold laugh. Jason Miller, how did you dare lay a hand on me? Do you know that no one has ever dared to hit me? Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to hit me? His face turned ashen. I had laid bare the darkest, most selfish desires buried deep in his heart, and he knew he had nothing left to defend himself with. I stared straight at him. He stood motionless, tears silently sliding down his cheeks, glinting under the dim yellow lights. "I'm sorry, Wendy," he said, his voice trembling. "Don't you love me anymore?" "I never loved you," I replied decisively, without a hint of hesitation. "What did you say?" he asked hoarsely. Jason Miller's lips went white as he stared at me in shock. I met his gaze directly, my eyes steady and frank. "I did like you very much. I liked you from elementary school on. But that feeling never needed your response. It sprouted in a beautiful world that belonged only to me. As long as I had myself, that was enough. But not long ago, I let it go. Why? He asked, sounding dazed, like a sleepwalker. Because even now, every time I see you, my cheek still hurts. My voice was calm and cold, without the slightest ripple. The last trace of color finally drained from Jason Miller's face. At last, pain and unwillingness showed clearly in his eyes. His body trembled slightly, as if swept by a cold wind in the middle of the night. The air around me seemed to grow suffocating, so thick it was hard to breathe. Later on, Jason Miller and Lily Dawson broke up. I didn't know the exact reason. Not long after, Lily caused a major scandal at work and was fired from the company. Jason, on the other hand, seemed to go through a kind of rebirth. He gradually distanced himself from his old friends and poured all his attention back onto me. Every morning, he bought the breakfast I liked. At noon, he would make time to bring me my favorite dishes. After work, he followed quietly behind me, saying he wanted to walk me home. His concern now went far beyond what it had ever been before. Every time I asked him why he was doing all this, he would only shake his head. He quietly looked at me with eyes full of pain, and in the end, he said softly that he only wanted to make it up to me, to take good care of me. To be honest, his persistence truly became a burden to me, like something I could never drive away, no matter how much I tried to push it off or reason with it. Around that time, my parents retired. They wanted to return to our hometown and live off the land. After the whole family discussed it, we decided to sell the house here and move to Southport. I didn't tell anyone about this in advance. It wasn't until the weekend that I sent farewell messages to a few close friends. Jason Miller was the last person to find out, though I don't know how he learned about it. On the day we left, he chased after our car for a long, long time. Sitting in the passenger seat, I quietly looked into the rearview mirror and saw him running with all his strength, his hands stretched out as if trying to hold on to something. I saw tears streaming down his face, saw how pale he looked. "Don't go, please don't go. Wendy?" His voice was gradually carried away by the wind, fading into the swirling dust. As our car moved farther and farther away, the figure that had accompanied me for so many years grew smaller and smaller, until it became a faint black dot and finally disappeared from sight. Later on, I occasionally heard bits of news about Jason Miller from former neighbors. Some said he had fallen into decline, drifting through his days in a daze. Others said he let himself go, changing girlfriends as easily as changing clothes. There were also those who said he had completely changed, working day and night without rest. I no longer cared. After arriving in Southport, I took the civil service exam and passed. Carrying my aspirations with me, I stepped into the future. Unexpectedly, Ethan Y's hometown was also in Southport. After meeting me again, he actively and warmly pursued me. During the first 2 years after I moved there, every year on my birthday, an anonymous package would arrive right on time. Sometimes a Labubu doll I had once mentioned online, other times the fresh dark chocolate I liked. I accepted them all but never touched them, letting them lie quietly in a corner of the storage room. By the 3rd year, Ethan Y and I registered our marriage. At his request, we made our relationship public on social media. From then on, those yearly gifts stopped arriving. On my wedding day, I received an anonymous message. "Wendy, you must be happy." I turned off my phone, linked arms with my father, and took 3 steps forward toward the groom. The story between Jason Miller and me had long since ended. The laughter and tears of those years had all turned into ashes, carried away by time, scattered to the wind. As for the story between Ethan Y and me, it was only now that it began, slowly and gently. What does it do to a heart to be loved only when it's convenient? Love and Lies story.